Hey guys.
Hey everybody.
So this is actually our first time doing both Instagram and Facebook Live at the same time. So we'll see how this goes. We kind of have two phones set up here, which is really interesting. But
Hi Instagram. Hi Facebook.
welcome to another Travel Therapy Mentor live Facebook video and Instagram video. Normally we do these videos on Sunday night, sometime around 8 or 9 o'clock. So right around now. And tonight we're going to be talking about the compact licensure, mostly for PTs. PTs have already been enacted, but also the status for OT and SLP. And this is going to be really big for travel therapists. So we want to talk a little bit about what this means, how the compact, how it's set up, how this will impact the future of travelers, and a little insight into the OT and SLP. So Whitney's going to introduce us, and I'm going to get this video shared in a couple groups on Facebook. So if you guys have any questions throughout, feel free to ask.
Yeah, so welcome guys. A lot of you guys that are watching us on Facebook may have already seen our videos in the past. Like Jared said, we do these videos every week. We try to do them every Sunday. For you guys that are watching us for the first time on Instagram Live, you may not have seen our videos in the past, but we've been doing them every day or every week live on Facebook for
almost 7 months now.
Yeah, so pretty much all year.
We've got about probably over 20 hours of live videos on Facebook. So anybody on Instagram that's watching that wants to go back and watch some of the old ones, definitely check out the Facebook page.
It's probably even more than 7 months. Didn't we start in December?
Maybe. Something
Okay,
like that.
it's been a long time. So if you guys ever are interested in learning about the old topics that we've talked about travel therapy, they're all on our Facebook page. You can go back and watch all the old videos. So just to do a few introductions for anybody who's not familiar with us, my name is Whitney Aiken.
And I'm Jared Kazaza.
And we are both traveling doctors of physical therapy, and we've both been traveling PTs for about 4.5 years now. And during that time, we've traveled a lot on the East Coast. We've done most of our travel therapy contracts on purpose on the East Coast, but we've done a lot of traveling internationally and domestically for fun, not for work. So some of you guys may have followed along with our story and seen some of our pictures and videos from when we were in Europe. We just spent 4 months in Europe, and then we just did a big road trip across the U.S. To Vegas and back. So we've been super busy with our travels. But we like to bring you guys information and content related to travel therapy. We have a website where we write a lot of articles, traveltherapymentor.com, a lot of informational articles on there, and then we create videos and posts on our social media accounts to share information with you guys. So this week, like Jared said, we wanted to talk a little bit about what the travel therapy, the PT compact is, which isn't directly for the purpose of travel therapy, but it definitely most benefits travel therapists. So we wanted to talk about what the PT compact is and how it works, so that you PTs that might be eligible can definitely benefit from it. And then we also wanted to talk about what was up and coming for occupational therapists and speech-language pathologists in their realm as well. So I see that a few of you guys are tuning in live on both Facebook and Instagram. So if you are tuning in, we'd love if you'd say hi in the comments. We can see your comments. So just say hi and let us know who you are. I see that someone is already on and said hi from Rate My Travel Assignments. We had a nice chat with the host or the site coordinator for Rate My Travel Assignments before. So good to see you again. Hey there. Good to see a few of you guys on tonight. And on Facebook, I see Jeff is here, and Ryan Barcelona and Ryan Kirtley. Thank you guys for joining us. You guys have definitely joined us in the past. Hi, Caroline. We got to see Caroline on our road trip in Memphis. So, yeah, if you guys are watching, if you just want to say hi in the comments and let us know your name, who you are you a therapist? Are you a student that's looking into being a therapist? We'd love to hear from you guys. And as we go through the video and we're talking about the topic tonight, if you guys have questions and you want to ask, feel free to comment or write your question in the comments. Hi, Caroline. And let us know what questions you have. I know some of you guys are coming at us from a different knowledge base. Some of you guys might already know a lot about the compact licensure, and some of you guys might not have any idea. So please feel free to listen and leave comments and leave questions.
All right. So for the compact, PT has definitely been leading the way, and the PT compact has already gone into effect. So we've written an article about this. We've spoken about it multiple times in different videos, but not specifically, everything about the compact. So we want to make a specific video for this. And I think there's 16 states now involved in the PT compact, with several more coming up. We know Virginia's coming up, and what was the other one? Maryland?
Maryland, yep.
Maryland. So there's probably going to be about 20 states that are involved in this compact by the end of the year. And basically what the compact will do is it will make it much more simple for therapists, PTs, OTs, SLPs, once they go into effect as well, to be able to get licensed in different states and not have to go through all the hassle that we normally do. And that's huge for all therapists, but that's really huge for travelers, because that is one of the worst parts about being a travel therapist, is getting licensed in each state.
So just to give a little background, a lot of you guys, if you are current travelers or you've looked into this before, you might already know this, but some of you might not. In the past, forever and ever, the way that it works as a travel therapist is you have to get licensed in every single state you want to work in. So that means you have to go through the full application process in every state you want to work in. That means you have to do an application, pay a fee, sometimes a background check, sometimes a jurisprudence or a law exam. The biggest hassle is having to send in verifications to these states when you want to get licensed. So you have to have verifications from every single state that you've ever been licensed in. So if you're a travel therapist and in the past and you were licensed in 20 states, or even if you let those states lapse, you still had to send in a verification of your license and that it was in good standing from every single state, all 20 of them. So if you got licensed in all 49 states, when you went to go get licensed in the 50th one, you had to send in verifications from all 49, and it can be super a long process, big hassle. Some of them are really old school. It's just like paper.
Yeah, and every single one of those states also has a fee associated with it. So you pay fees, you have to wait forever. So say one of those states gets behind and doesn't send that verification very quickly, that means that you're not able to get licensed in that next state as fast. They have to wait for that. So there's some states that are notorious for being very slow with their verification process, sending that verification of your license in good standing to the new state, which slows down the process from that point forward once you have that state license.
Yeah.
So the compact will make that basically archaic. You won't have to worry about that.
Yeah, and then in addition to having to send in the state verifications, you also used to have to send in your original board scores and your original transcripts from your school that you graduated with, your PT, OT, or speech degree with. So hopefully the PT compact now that has come in, they've sort of gotten together the states, and they've agreed that once you're licensed in one state, if the other state is also a compact state, they're just going to let your other license vouch for you. And all you basically have to do now is just fill out an application saying you want to get a compact privilege in this other state. And we'll explain kind of some of the rules. But basically all you have to do is a short application and a small fee. And if they have a jurisprudence, you still have to do that. But other than that, you don't have to do all the verifications from states, all the verifications from schools, and from your original board scores. So really, really helpful, really going to speed things up and make it so much easier. And we know a lot of PTs are already participating and already getting these benefits, so that's amazing. And soon, all the states, we're hoping, or at least the majority of the PT states, are going to start participating. And then hopefully for OT and speech, they'll start participating as well.
Yep. So SLP, we'll talk about the SLP license first, because we've talked to a lot of SLPs, and pretty much no one that we've talked to knows anything about the compact licensure for SLP. I think most therapists are just watching what's happening with the PT license, because it's actually moved pretty quickly. This compact is way faster than we anticipated, way faster than most people I think have anticipated.
In April 2017, so it's taken about 2 years, and we're going to talk about all the details of where they're at so far, but it's really gone pretty fast.
Yeah, I mean, 2 or 3 years to get almost half the states on board, like either having it already enacted or working towards it, is pretty amazing in my book. But so the SLP license compact, they actually have already began the process, and there's 9 states that are involved at this point. And the interesting thing about the SLP compact, and this is actually how the PT compact started at first as well, is once they get to 10 states, then it actually goes into effect. So they already have 9 out of the 10. So they're very close to actually having the compact enacted right now. So I don't think many SLPs know about that, but the ones that do really should be lobbying towards their state board to try to get that enacted in their state, so that the compact will go ahead and go through, because it's very, very close at this point.
Yeah, so there's 9 states, like Jared said, that have already agreed to enact legislation for the SLP. So we're going to list off those 9 states. So this is for speech therapists. Washington, California. I'm really surprised, California.
Yeah.
Nevada, Texas, Illinois, Georgia, Florida, New York, and Massachusetts have all already agreed to enact the SLP compact privilege. So as long as they can get one more state, a 10th state, then the SLP one will go through very soon, and all those 9 have already agreed to participate. So that is super great news if any of you SLPs are watching and that is your home state. We're going to go into that in just a minute when we explain the way the PT one works, how you get to be eligible. But basically, it has to be your home state. So SLPs, again, it's Washington, California, Nevada, Texas, Illinois, Georgia, Florida, New York, and Massachusetts for SLP. So that's very exciting.
Yeah, so if you're an SLP watching and your state isn't on that list, contact your state board and see what the process is, what's going on, if they're thinking about it, if they're in the beginning stages, or what's going on there.
Yeah. If you guys want more information about that, I would visit your ASHA website to find out more information about the SLP compact. That is where we got all the information from. Okay, so the next thing is we're going to chat a little bit about the OT. So the OT isn't quite as far along as the speech or the PT yet, but they have started to introduce the concept, and they are working on it. And this is the information that we gathered from the AOTA website.
Yeah, and this is brand new. So the OT compact was just basically introduced, or even began being talked about 1 month ago. It was August 2019. So it's still in the very beginning stages, but still, at least there's some progress being made, some talk about it, and I think all this stems from like we talked about, the PT compact going pretty well so far. So I think every other discipline's going to start, jumping on that because it's going well for PT.
Yeah. So the AOTA has already started discussing it. They started talking about it in August 2019. They're working on making a compact over the next 4 years, they said. So it is going to take a little time, but they suspect that it should go into effect by 2024. So it is a little disappointing. It's not as fast as the PT and the speech, but at least they're in the process. So if you're planning on being a traveler, if you're a current OT student, or someone who is working perm as an OT, and you're planning on being a traveler 4 years from now, this could be very helpful. If you're a current traveler and you're planning on still traveling 4 years from now, this can be very helpful for you as well.
Yeah, and who knows? Just because it says that's their anticipated date, this is still very early in the process. So if PT goes really well and the SLP is enacted, maybe they'll speed it up some. Maybe it won't be such a long process.
Yeah. And again, as always, reach out to your state boards, because they're who helps it get passed. We're in our home state now in Virginia, and we were talking to one of my former professors who is on the Virginia APTA board, or the VPTA board, and she was like, you can thank your state board for that, because we're the ones who it had to come across our desks and we had to approve it. So if you guys that are OTs or speech therapists, or even if you're a PT and your state's not participating, go to your state legislator and talk to them, and visit your legislative board. So for ASHA for speech, AOTA for occupational therapists, and the APTA for physical.
Yep. Okay,
so now we want to talk in a little bit more detail about the PT compact and exactly how it works, who's eligible, how you get the compact privilege. Because a lot of PTs and PT students, I think, have been reaching out to us, and they're like, yeah, this is great. Like, we have a PT compact that's so easy. I'll just get licensed in one of those states and then I'll be good to go. But we want you guys to understand how all the rules work, and it's not exactly that easy. It's pretty easy, but it's not that easy. Okay. So, you want to talk about the states that are participating?
So there's 16 states right now, like we mentioned in the beginning, that are actively issuing compact privileges for PTs. The states are Washington, Oregon, Utah, Colorado, Arizona, Texas, North Dakota, Iowa, Missouri, Louisiana, Mississippi, Tennessee, Kentucky, North Carolina, New Hampshire.
And Nebraska. Jared needs to work on his state abbreviations.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't, I wrote down NE and he didn't know that was Nebraska.
Yeah. New England, okay.
Okay.
And then there's 10 other states that have enacted legislation. So they're currently working towards actually issuing compact privileges. And those are Montana, Oklahoma, Arkansas, Georgia, South Carolina, Virginia, West Virginia, Maryland, Delaware, and New Jersey. And
so what this means is the 16 that we listed, if you guys visit ptcompact.org, you'll see a nice little map they have laid out. The 16 that I listed are the ones that are in the dark blue. This means that they are actively participating. They're actively giving out the compact licenses. You can use your compact privilege in any of those states as long as your home state is one of the ones participating. Now, the second list, the list of 10, that includes our home state, Virginia, West Virginia, Maryland, a couple others, that means that their state has approved it, but they haven't quite gotten to the process where they're actually letting you start using your privilege yet, your compact privilege yet. So it means that the state has already given it the okay. They are going to approve it. It just they haven't quite gotten to the processes yet to make it available to you. So for example,
basically they're just ironing out the details.
Right. So for Virginia, which is our home state, they've already approved it, but they're not going to start letting us use it until January the 1st. And that might just be the way their board meets and all that stuff. They're going to have it all ironed out by January the 1st. I know Maryland's is coming up soon, like next month, I think.
I think it's like in a couple days.
Yeah, I think it's October 1st. Maryland will start actively issuing, and they'll go on that dark blue actively issuing compact privileges list. So they're really in the works, and they're getting there. Now, there are 4 states that we didn't list that they have introduced legislation, which means that they're talking about it. It's in there with the state boards, and they're going back and forth about it, and they haven't decided one way or the other. Those 4 states include Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, and Massachusetts.
Yep.
So if you are in any of those 4 states, you might really want to go talk to your legislative board and go talk to your local APTA board and say, oh, I really support this. I really think you guys should pass it, because there's a chance there's one state that they introduced it and they said no. And they didn't pass it.
I thought that was Nevada.
Nevada, I think, yeah. So Nevada, they talked about it and they said, nope, we're not going to do it. So we don't want to see that happen in the other states.
So if you're keeping count of all the states we listed off, that's 30 out of 50 states that have, in some form, began the process of being involved in the compact. So like we said, for less than 2.5 years, that's pretty amazing for over half the states already to be involved in some form. So we're really optimistic that, hopefully a few years from now, maybe 40 or close to 50 states will have this stuff enacted, and we'll easily be able to go wherever we want in the country, and that would be wonderful for us as travelers.
Absolutely. If you guys have any questions so far, I see a couple people have listed comments and questions, and we'll get to those in a little bit, but feel free to leave us a comment in the comments, or a question in the comments. So I want to talk a little bit about exactly how you go about getting the compact privilege and using it. So the number one thing is that your home state has to be one of the ones participating. So this means, for all intents and purposes, this is where your home address is, this is where your car is registered, this is your home state. This isn't exactly the same thing as your tax home, because a tax home is sort of a thing that has to do with travel therapy that may or may not have to do with the APTA, but more or less it's where your tax home is. It probably is all the same requirements. So it has to be your home state. You have to have an active license in good standing in your home state. So you can't just say, well, that's my home state, but I don't have a license there. You have to have an active license there. And then there's some rules about it can't have any disciplinary actions against you and all that stuff. And I think all of them are requiring criminal background checks to be completed to be eligible to participate in the compact, because that's part of the reciprocity. That's why in the first place they wanted these verifications across states, so they think you're not just dodging what you did wrong in one state to go work in another state. They want to make sure you're in good standing. So you have to have, it's your home state, you have to have a license there that's in good standing. Now after that, all you have to do is you just fill out the application and you pay a small fee. I just saw today that they actually on the ptcompact.org website have a nice chart listed with all the fees that are required. From what it looked like to me, it seems like the compact board is charging a fee of $45 for every single state that you want to apply to, and then the state has an option to also charge a fee if they want to.
Yeah. And that looked like that ranged from, some states were not charging any fee at all. Mm-hmm. Arizona, we saw, wasn't charging any fee, so you would just pay $45. But some states were charging fees up to $145, I think we saw. So that would mean that it's basically between $45 and $200 that it would cost you to get licensed in each state, which might sound like a lot especially if you're a student or a new grad thinking about paying $200 for a license. But there are some licenses right now, especially if you're getting a lot of verifications from other states, that might cost you $500 or $600.
Yeah.
And it takes forever. So for it to just cost $200 or less and to go through very quickly, it's really a blessing.
Yeah. And I thought it was kind of crazy. The one state that was charging like $150, I think, on top of the $45, so that would mean it was $195, was Mississippi.
Yeah.
And I'm like, Mississippi, don't you want people coming there? Like, why are you charging that much? And then Arizona's charging $0, but who knows?
I'm not sure.
But yeah, most of them I think were more along the lines of like 45. A couple of them it was 45 plus 45, so you might pay $90.
So in these states, you guys might be familiar with this. Some states have jurisprudence exams. Some are very, very simple. They'll just be online little quizzes that you do that are open book. Those are no big deal. And that's the ones that have jurisprudence exams. I think that's the majority of them. That it's open book. You just want to look over their state laws, and it's really, really simple. But some states still have a jurisprudence exam where you have to go take it in person at a testing center. And I think those mainly are California, Arizona, and Florida. Those are the three that I know of. There might be more, but so the jurisprudence exam will still apply. So if you apply through the compact licensure for a state that has a jurisprudence exam where you have to go take that in person, you'll still have to do that.
Yeah. So the only one of those that's currently participating would be Arizona. So you would definitely have to go and still take the Arizona jurisprudence exam at a testing center. And then I know some of the other ones that are participating, like North Carolina, I remember had one that was open book that you just fill out with your application, so that'll still apply. But on that nice little chart on ptcompact.org, it talks about the fees and whether or not a jurisprudence is applicable, and it actually gives you a link, I think, to the website for that state board on how to go about taking the jurisprudence. So it's pretty straightforward. It's definitely a heck of a lot more straightforward than applying for licenses individually. I mean, it's going to make life so much better.
Yes. We're really excited. Once Virginia goes in, we are ready to make it out to the West Coast finally.
Yeah. Now, unfortunately, some states are still not participating, like California. Who knows if they'll ever participate, but there are some really cool states on there: Arizona, Washington, Oregon, Colorado, Utah, some really fun
Montana. We'd love to go to
places.
Montana at some point.
And then if you guys aren't from Virginia, Virginia is a great place to come to. North Carolina, we've really enjoyed. Maryland, I think Delaware's in the works. So there's a lot of cool places on there. It's going to make things a lot easier for us.
All right, so we're going to go through some questions and comments. If you guys are still watching this, I know there's quite a few people on still. If you could like this and comment just so more people see the video. This is something, like we said in the beginning, this is something that a lot of, especially OTs and SLPs, seems like they don't really know anything about, the compact for their own profession. So the more people that can see this and start advocating to their state boards, the better. So the more likes and comments, the more people see the videos.
Yeah, and for the PT one, I wanted to get out there that, you know, you definitely do have to be licensed in your home state and all that stuff, because some people are still kind of confused about how that works. And then I think there was somebody else had a question sort of about that home state thing that we're going to answer
we'll talk about that
in more detail as well.
So Megan said she's on her first travel assignment in New York with one extension as a travel coda. So that's awesome. Travel coda is a tough job market right now. So if you're at a facility that you enjoy and you're able to extend, I would recommend extending as much as you can as a coda right now.
Yep. Okay, and then Jeff says, talking about the license verifications the old-fashioned way, Jeff says New Jersey took 3 weeks just to send in his license verification. That is annoying.
Yeah, that's a long time.
Yeah.
Hawaii has been known to take a month or more at some cases, so there's some states that are very, very slow to send that verification into the new states.
Yeah, so this is going to really make a huge difference for everybody as far as being a speedier process. Hi, Alex. Okay, Brianna says, are there any loopholes if your home state is not participating in the PT Compact right now if you are a traveler?
Not really. So the only loophole that there might be would be that you'd have to change your tax home state. You actually have to move and establish yourself in a new state that is actually part of the compact. Mm-hmm. And that is quite the hassle. So you'd have to, obviously rent or buy something in the new state. You'd have to change all your mailing stuff to this new state. You would have to actually work in that area for a while before you continue to travel as a permanent position or as a local traveler. Mm-hmm. So there's not really any loophole around that. There were some travel companies apparently that were telling people that they could just get their first license in a compact state and then apply for the compact licensure even though their home state wasn't that state. And apparently those are being investigated now, and some people are getting their licenses revoked and like paying penalties and stuff. So I would definitely not recommend that. If a recruiter tells you something like that, don't listen to that person.
Yeah, and Brianna, a lot of people want the same thing you want, and they're all wondering the same thing, how can I get in on the PT Compact?
For this last 2 years, us for sure.
Oh, yeah, and my mom was like, you're already, because we're licensed in North Carolina, and North Carolina's been participating.
And we're licensed in Arizona.
And she was like, can't you just say your home address is in North Carolina? And I'm like, Mom, it's not that easy. You really need to mind your P's and Q's. You don't want to get in trouble with this stuff. So it definitely has to be your home state. So unless you want to go through the process of changing your tax home and your official home state, unfortunately, no. Okay, Caroline, who is an SLP, says, thanks for the info. I knew there was some kind of meeting in August, and I had looked at the ASHA website last week. I couldn't find any new info. I think Tennessee was one of the first states to sign on for PT. Well, that's good news for you, Caroline, because that's your home state. And I wish they would sign on for SLP. Oh, I see. But they're kind of dysfunctional. Well, yes, hopefully they will sign on for SLP. But, yeah, so far I don't think they are on the list. You're right. So.
Yeah. But they
hopefully
could be the
soon.
10th one.
Yeah, maybe they'll be number 10. Go talk to your state legislator.
So Alex says, why on earth would they say no? So we said that they said no. We don't know exactly what happened. All we know is that they were on the map. Nevada was on the map for a while. It said like introduced, legislation introduced, and they were like light blue or whatever color it is. And then a few months later we checked again, and now it's back to gray. And it said something about, what did it say?
It came up during the session without passing. Or
Yeah.
the session closed without it passing.
Yeah, so I mean there's a chance that maybe there was like details that weren't agreed upon, and it'll still be in the works for, you know, whenever they meet next time, but it just didn't go through that first time for whatever reason.
Yeah, that could be the case, actually. I forgot about that. So that would be good news for Nevada if it does come back up in their next
Because
session.
I honestly can't think of any reason why they would say no, unless it's a state like California that makes a lot of money from their application fees. Because their application fees, I think it's over $200 just for the application in California, not including all the additional costs that are associated with it. So they're making a lot of money off of that. So it kind of makes sense if a state's making a lot of money why they wouldn't want to join. But for some states that have high PT needs or therapy needs, which Nevada really does, I don't know why they wouldn't join. They would need a higher pool of clinicians to come to their clinics.
And that's the main reason that it was begun. If you read the PT Compact website, they say to allow greater accessibility to physical therapy services to patients in other states. So it's really all about the patient care, allowing clinicians to get to these other states where they need help. It's not just for travel therapists like us that want to, you know, live this lifestyle and be able to move more easily, but it could be for a clinician that is moving to a new state, just moving their permanent residence to a new state. It could be maybe there's a disaster or there's some type of thing where they need help quickly and you have to go and work there, which oftentimes they actually do waive the requirements to have a license there if that's the case, but this will make it a lot easier for those types of situations as well, but especially travel therapists.
Yes.
Okay. Speaking of mom, hi mom. Hi Elizabeth. So Elizabeth says, yes, that's correct. It takes $45 to apply for the privilege and then the additional state cost, which is usually pretty cheap. Yeah. Like I said, Elizabeth, it was usually between $0 and then $150 was the majority, was the most that I saw for one state.
Yeah, and most of them that we looked at on the list are pretty low cost. So that $150, that was definitely not common. Most of them are lower cost.
Yeah. So if anybody else has questions more about how the PT Compact works, or about the OT Compact or the SLP Compact, please leave us a comment in the comments or leave us a question.
So Carolyn says it's also helpful for teletherapy because clinician has to be licensed in their own state and the state the patient's in.
Really?
And that's definitely true. I've actually joined a couple of telehealth groups recently, and they're always talking about the compact because of that. So
I actually didn't know that.
Yeah. So a lot of people right now can only treat, especially permanent. So say a permanent PT only has a license in their home state. They can only treat telehealth patients in their own state.
Okay, interesting. I didn't know that. So that's another good reason for the compact licensure. So something else I wanted to touch on just as far as the logistics of how it works. Again, kind of like I mentioned earlier, there's a lot of people that are a little confused if you're already a current travel therapist, if one of the state licenses that you already hold is participating, if that counts. But again, it does not. So even though we held that license in Arizona and North Carolina, we have active licenses there, but those are not our home states, so we're still not eligible, and we just have been waiting patiently for 2 years until our home state started participating.
Yep.
And I think this is the biggest misconception that we see for clinicians across the board, students and current travel therapists and things, understanding that it has to be your home state participating.
Yep. So I think that's most of what we're going to cover. If you guys have any questions, feel free to ask. We always go back to these videos later and answer any questions that pop up. So if you're watching this on the replay, #team replay,
Yep.
Feel free to ask questions. We'll come back and answer them. Like I said, if you guys could like and comment on these videos, the more people see it, that's always great. Spread information is, our goal with these videos. So, and like I mentioned in the beginning too, this is the first time we've ever done Facebook and Instagram Live.
Yeah, so thanks Instagrammers for joining in with us. And I think you can actually watch it on replay on Instagram as well for probably 24 hours.
Yeah, we actually have some questions on Instagram, but we'll just answer those afterwards because there's not as many people.
Yes, Ryan, Team Replay is a thing.
Team Replay, Ryan.
Hashtag. But
Hashtag.
only if you put a hashtag in front of it. Okay.
And then we'll also put a link to the article we wrote on the compact if you guys want more information or you want some of the links to the sites that you can go look at the compact map and everything. So I'll put that in the comments after this video is over.
Yeah. So thank you guys for joining, and we'll talk to you later.
Yep.
We'll see
Take
you next
care.
week.
See you next week.